Okay, welcome back to another episode of Survivor episode 7. We are not listening to you, Survivor. I do not care what you say about this being episode 8. This is episode
Yeah,
7.
when two episode, or it wasn't even like, it's not like, yeah, like
Yeah.
Joe just told me about this, and I'm like, well, no, because like you don't do it by the amount of eliminations, or like some of the 2 hour specials are like, specials, like they're 2 hours.
Mhm.
I don't know what they were doing there. I think because like we might be getting like a season that's like one episode short because of like how they, you know, because of like the framework of everything.
Yeah. It's because
Um,
they quickly tried to make the hourglass 1 week. They wanted to combine it. So they just combined probably what would have just been 2 separate episodes, but because of the backlash, it became one episode.
yeah,
But in
but
Survivor's mind, they're trying to still say it's different episodes, but that's not
is
true.
it like Paramount Plus? Because I've been watching these live.
Yeah,
Is it
yeah,
six?
they're different episodes.
There. Oh,
They are
okay.
separated out. So if you watched it streaming, you would end episode 6, not at a tribal council still.
All right, that's not. I see what they're doing with it, and I mean, in the day and age of streaming, it doesn't really matter that way. I
Mhm.
actually, and sometimes longer episodes you might hold off on a bit for. This
Mhm.
literally happened to me this week where I was about to watch some Seinfeld, and then it was like a two-part, or it was like a hour-long episode, and I was like, yeah, I don't have the time for that. And then I was like, all right, I'll wait until I have more time to like
Mhm.
finally watch that episode. So like I get their like reasoning behind it. However, at the same time, it's just one big episode. And uh
Yeah,
come on.
exactly. Yeah.
Don't don't play these games.
Yeah, everyone who's watching, like, it's better to just say that merge thing was a full episode. Like, if you divide it, if we had another scenario where we only got that first episode and then had to wait a week, we probably would have been pretty negative on that episode,
Yeah.
regardless. So I just prefer to have it all there. Your whole story was through the whole episode, not over 2 episodes. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyways, here we are at episode 7. Um very expected tribal council.
Yeah. I was like, like it was something where I was like, oh, it is Chanel. There was no
Yeah.
like I knew it was going to be Romeo or Chanel. Like I felt like Romeo would have been a bit of a spicier elimination because
Mhm.
like, ooh, okay, they're getting rid of someone who I would say like I don't know, he's been like I wouldn't say silent the last 2 episodes, but
Mhm.
like, he's someone where he's been shown to be, charismatic, and like he has the like potential to play the game well. It's just like this time around he was on the this time around he's not like with the numbers as opposed to like pre-merge.
Yeah, it seems like ever since he hit the merge beach, Dreo quickly threw him under the bus and has basically said that it's like, I don't care about Romeo, he can go. Which was the complete opposite of what Romeo felt for Drea, saying that
Yeah.
he was, felt like her coach and Survivor, and
Yeah.
quickly
Unrequited
turned.
alliances.
Exactly. So yeah, he's been in some trouble. The only thing that I'd say is the pro for, I guess I'm glad that Chanel is gone, is I consider she one of the people who probably was not winning the game. So the
Yeah.
fact that a person who's probably not winning the game is gone, we still have all of these other contenders, and there's a lot of contenders.
Yeah, I agree. Though I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but like I don't know, usually like because obviously there's only one person that can go per episode, except
Mhm.
if there's a double elimination.
Yep.
I know like next week is a double elimination episode, and so I was like, oh yeah, like because like sometimes they can be like getting rid of like two contestants that are like eh, or like
Mhm.
one that's and one that's like, oh crap.
Mhm.
I don't know. Last season, both Evie and Nasir were kind of like oh man, those were like big peeps, and they got
Mhm.
like wiped out. Um, I don't know, like I feel like especially with how crazy like tribal councils have been in this season, to see one that was kind of like straightforward and just kind of like, oh, okay, it is
Mhm.
Chanel. She didn't even. I feel like part of the thing was to make her feel comfortable enough not to play her shot in the dark.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was something that added a level of excitement to a lot of the pre-merge tribal councils, was that people were playing their shot in the dark.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's Chanel this season. Just never doing, I think, anything right. I really can't name one single thing that she did that was actually good. Like she's like, yeah, I got Daniel out. Yeah, but you didn't really, you caused, your vote caused a rift with the major alliance.
Yeah.
Technically, you weren't the reason Jenny goes home, but you could have, you still can talk. You just because you don't vote there, you can still back up your alliance.
As Omer just proved.
Yeah,
But
exactly. So yeah, pretty much every way you kind of points at Chanel's game, it was a bit of a blunder. Her not feeling the need to scramble during a vote when she is going into it one of the like targets. Like it should be pretty obvious.
I don't
um
know. I feel like awareness and stuff, like her game just lacked that a little bit. So
yeah,
it was like, you know, um, she just didn't have it.
yeah.
And it
She
led
she
to.
she was did get a confessional every episode though, so she did get quite the screen time while she was out there. I think she's like the first one out of like the people who made it kind of far into the pre-merge to have a confessional every episode, so good for her. But yeah, just I thought going into the season that she was going to be a really great Survivor player. Like I
Dang.
had such high hope for her.
Yeah, I know. Like you never know how things are gonna like pan out. Like yeah, it's just she wasn't as compelling as like edit of her could have been, but that was mostly because of like her gameplay.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, maybe the whole thing of like losing her vote just like tripped her up and it was something that she could not recover from.
Mhm.
Um, who knows?
Yeah,
I
hard
mean,
to say. I mean
yeah,
that Vaati I mean Daniel and Chanel, just their games. They both were playing like games that tanked each other's games, like to just bring them so far down that the odds were just insurmountable. Like I'm pretty sure I called a few episodes ago that I think whoever makes it out of those two will be one of the first two jury members on the jury thing.
well, yeah, because like the next tribal council she attended, she was immune, and then
Yeah,
this time around they were like, all right, yeah, we can't vote off Tori, so we might as well
exactly.
get Chanel.
Yeah,
She was number two.
yeah. I mean, whenever they also show you that someone's visibly upset about their votes, it usually will mean something in the game because people get upset about a lot of votes, but they don't always mean anything. So we're not going to see all of those. But they made a pretty big deal about the Mike being upset over Chanel over this. So yeah,
Mhm.
it basically made, and Mike's social game this season has been top notch. She's pretty much in with everyone that matters in the game.
Yeah, and I feel like it comes from a genuine place too. Like the whole thing with like Omer was praying again, and like Mike was like talking to him about it, and like seeing how the practice is done, and like there's a lot of like there's a lot of not genuineism because that's not a word.
Yeah,
Authenticity. That's what I'm
authenticity.
looking for. There's a lot of authenticity in how he like interacts with people.
Mhm.
So like and I feel like that's the best way to do like a social game is
Mhm.
authenticity. And like he does that. He's a very likable guy.
Yeah.
um which I think like you know given like the state of things, like he could be like a legit threat near the end of the game.
Mhm.
Like I feel like he's one where it's like, all right, around 6 or like 7, like when people are thinking more about, all right, who has the more compelling story at the end, he could be one where they were like, he is a very charismatic guy. He might win a few votes. And like, even if it's like a final 3, a vote that goes to someone, even if they're not going to win, is still a vote away from you. So
Yeah, if I had to pick someone who I think is making final 3, I might honestly pick Mike. I think he has so many routes to getting there.
yeah,
He's really in with Omer. He's really in with Jonathan. He's connected with Drea over
hi,
their idols and High. Yeah,
yeah,
he's got so many routes. Like whoever ends up seizing power, like they want to bring Mike further into the game. So I think that there's a good chance that he's at least making finale at the very least.
yeah. And also remember, he still has his own idol
Yep.
that he can use. I didn't bring it up last time, but because there was a lot of things to cover, and it was something where it didn't really needed to be brought up. But there was a theory kind of going around that that the three-way idol wasn't actually activated, because of like like some of the rules that were painted on there, where it was like, oh, you have to say at the next one, otherwise the activation doesn't work.
Mhm.
Some people were like, well, they didn't say it at the next, so could that be that, oh, it doesn't actually activate? But when they show the advantages, it was like, when they showed Marianne, it was like, oh, extra vote and idol. And then like, okay, so it can be like kind of like soft confirmed that yes, it was in fact activated.
Yeah, this was the whole thing with Mike not saying his things the entire time, which I think we went on a bit when it was happening about that kind of rule that's
Yeah.
they have on there. I think that was what was supposed to be the hard rule, was that you have to say it every time, but because Mike ends up not saying it, they didn't want to then like
Penalize the other two.
yeah, but so they ended up just like letting it slide. But I wonder if they told Marianne or Drea about it. But I mean, Drea found it like literally last time you could found it pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure how they went about that after uh Mike doesn't say it.
Yeah. I mean, there's always the possibility next episode we can see it, but I think, yeah, they
Mhm.
are like, it's been confirmed that they are activated.
Yes, yes.
Speaking of these advantages, I don't know if Drea broke a record for having the most advantages in a single game at a single point in time. Because
Uh,
she found 4 now. She has 4 now. Um,
yep.
I'm glad that they did the way they went about this too with the bench. And then he was like, "Yeah, we're also making it a beware this time." And the beware this time was kind of, you just go in and then you just see this like red paint blood, and then I'm like, "Geez, oh my god!" Like,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I see why it was like
Yeah.
there's
What did you think of Jeff kind of calling out Xander for not finding the one last year? He kind of made a little remark like, "Come on, you gotta look." like
I
like
mean,
and then if Drea didn't found this time, Jeff was not going to be happy. He might have been like angry at Drea for like the rest of the
get rid of
season.
benches in general.
Yeah. Uh,
Um, I feel like part of it was like, yeah, I guess he expected like something there. Or I mean, like, keep in mind, Michaela didn't find it when she was on the sit down bench. And
mhm,
then Sarah was able to scoop it up, Sarah Lucina, in
exactly.
Game Changers. So, like, Xander wasn't the first one to mess up in that regard.
Yeah.
But,
He was
I guess
looking. He
because
just
Cynthia,
was really bad at looking.
yeah. Um, so oops. Yeah, and it was interesting because like I wonder if Marianne would have found it because
Mhm.
Drea switched places with her.
That's a good question because I don't know if Marianne would have been as game savvy. I was actually thinking like, oh, we might not get it found this time. Like, I think she might be too emotionally invested in the challenge, actually, of like who's
Yeah,
winning, like all of that kind of stuff, and maybe not think about it. I mean,
yeah,
she's
that's fair.
watched all of Survivor except for 6 episodes of Token Teens, and something like this was not in those 6 episodes of Token Teens. So,
No, no. It's I don't know. Like I feel like it's something where I guess definitely now you do definitely have to check. It's funny how
um,
Jeff even on the later twist in this episode about the rice and stuff is like, yeah, he makes aware is like, yeah, you guys watch these seasons and we might change up these twists so that way it's a bigger beast or a little beast. You never know. So
yeah.
don't think you know everything. But I think like going forward, if you're on a sit out bench, could even be during like, back in pre-merge challenges. So that one will be harder to pull off because if it's like a team, if they're teams of three,
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel also would be a little unfair to just like randomly have one there when the other teams wouldn't have an opportunity. But
Mhm.
like, I think you just gotta check whenever you're on a sit out bench.
Yeah, that's now one of the new roles of Survivor. It's mandatory at this point.
Yeah. Did you also hear this theory that the place where they have the hidden or the immunity necklace, since it's a chest, someone should say, "Oh, open the chest and see what's inside," because there could be an advantage in there.
Interesting.
Did-
I haven't thought about that yet.
I saw it on my Facebook feed, and I'm like, I feel like it. I feel like it's like the Adam Klein like
Yeah.
podium thing where now it's like, ooh, could it be? I think people might be looking into it. It could just be purely decoration,
Mhm.
but like at the same time, how crazy would it be if it was actually?
Yeah. Tori doesn't win immunity next week, and she jumps up and gets that from the chest and just goes, "Bam! Here you go,
Yeah,
Jeff."
I let's talk about Tori for a little bit. She's obviously a big target and stuff. And I feel like this episode kind of showed more of her um, on a better side of things where it's like, oh, okay, she's actually very good at challenges,
Mhm.
going toe to toe with Jonathan.
Mhm.
Granted, it was another bounce themed one. And even if, Jonathan, he's done a lot of surfing and stuff, I feel like Tori was Solo's, able to take down this like Titan. Because like the man is like he's just amazing at challenges. How like during his like during the reward challenge, he was like, "No, let's switch places," and just like got pretty much all the shots in a row. Um,
Crazy. Like I literally had my hands just like this because I was just so blown away. Because Omer sings 4 in a row. Like he
yeah,
almost wins by just constantly singing them. Misses ultimately 2 shots. Whereas
yeah,
Jonathan sings all 5 in a row. Uh, like
yeah.
just
That was a
crazy.
crazy moment.
Yeah.
I, Part of me does wonder if Omer has performance anxiety when it comes to like, or like when it comes to like pressure when the spotlight was on him. Because
Mhm.
like something similar happened with the sliding rope puzzle,
Mhm.
where like, obviously he does usually good, but when it's like a solo portion of a challenge, it,
Mhm.
may stall him a little bit, or like
Yeah.
the pressure is high.
Mhm.
Um, Part of me is wondering if that is the case. I mean, he's doing very well in the social game.
Yeah.
Him being like, "Oh yeah, because I didn't have a vote last time, people that are on the outs think I'm with them," which is, definitely making the best thing out of that situation, even though like one wouldn't even think that was a thing, but apparently it is. And Omer is just like, "Yeah."
Yep.
Now I'm getting information from everywhere.
Yeah, that's how you play a no vote situation. You control the votes, and you're able to still afterwards be aligned with everyone in the game because you didn't have to make it. Technically, you know what Chanel was saying. It doesn't look
No
like you
blood,
voted. Yeah, there's no
no
blood
blood
on
on
her
your hands.
hands. Yeah, literally,
Um,
like Drea.
yeah, that was to go back to that. That was like interesting. When I saw this, I'm like, oh, like as soon as she put her hand in and I saw like the blood, and I was like, oh my god, this is this is actually very brilliant. And then I was like, oh my god, what kind of sauce stuff is? uh,
I don't know why she didn't just like go into the water. I feel like that would have been the most effective way to clean her hand.
I feel like part of it was maybe like if she goes out on the beach where you're at the water well, there's a lot of trees and stuff around. At the
uh,
beach, you don't really have that luxury.
mhm.
So I wouldn't imagine like from afar if someone just randomly takes a dip into the ocean for a little bit,
Yeah,
you know, you would notice like the red blood. I think like maybe because she did a decent enough job, except for this one little splotch right here.
yeah.
I would have like gotten most of it out, and then if I saw anything on my hand, you know, take a little dip in the ocean just for double measure.
Yeah, it seemed a little curious that Drea didn't check as well for that splotch because it seemed like you can be able to kind of at least see that, or at least you're really trying to make sure you get everywhere. But she ultimately created a potential opening for Tori to get some ammo, but I
Yeah,
I don't know how much it would go because I don't know if Tori really has as much swing or say in this tribe as Drea.
no, and also Drea, you know, like I said, four advantages at the same time, and one of them is steal advantage, which is you know like pretty OP if it's
Yeah.
done correctly. I mean, like obviously, like last episode or like last season, they made you know Xander and Tiffany like they pulled off like a good little maneuver there.
Yeah. But the
Um,
difference here is that no one knows what the advantage is. What
yeah,
was crucial about last time was Shan and Liana. One of them ultimately got it, which was Liana. But because Shan had to not risk her votes there, it allowed like when they came to the merge, like obviously Shan's going to figure out what this advantage is, which can help spread that kind of thing if it gets out of hand, which ultimately happens. This time we don't really have that. Tori knows that Drea might have something, but she doesn't know that it's the knowledge is power.
true.
You could even argue, though, knowledge is power, ironically, is least powerful with Drea because she has so many advantages. Like you got the idols for Marianne and Mike, yes, but with the amount of things that are available in Survivor, like
Yeah.
all of them are like being situated here with Drea.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, granted, she has a lot, but I
Mhm.
feel like whereas I think it's also advantageous for it's just like a good advantage to have regardless, because like
Mhm.
let's say next week she is in a position where yeah, you know, like getting rid of whether it's Marianne or Mike, you know, they're in the five. Um, they're vulnerable. They're not immune from the challenge or anything. And let's say it's out of these five, the only, you know, like the only four other people she can vote for. And let's say it is Marianne for the case where Mike is still in an alliance with Drea. In this situation, where, you know, it would be like, okay, to make sure Marianne gets out, I'm going to steal her advantage so that way she cannot play the idol. So it's a clean vote out.
Yeah, I guess I'm not much saying it's like it's completely useless with Drea. I'm more
It's
saying
just not
that
as like,
yeah, because there's less options that because Drea has it. You really only have one of those options, whereas for instance, you gave this to like Omer. suddenly he has way more things that he could be looking to target. Now I am like, I'd be curious because Dre has so many advantages here. Like what would happen if he said, can I steal an advantage from you? Because you can't be specific about it.
Yeah.
Like, does Dre get to choose? Does he get both of them? Like, what would that scenario have been? I wondered.
Or like the amulets, if
Yeah.
that kind of works that way, or is that like a game breaking thing where it's like,
Yeah. I
hey,
wonder. I bet if you didn't have an amulet, you could seize an amulet, maybe. But I don't know if you have an amulet, if you can steal another amulet.
also I feel that just puts a bigger target like as I was saying it, thinking about it a little bit, I think that puts a bigger target on your back because like
Yeah.
how do you know they're amulets? Because so far the only people that know about the amulets are the people that have one, and they're in an alliance together and not really looking to get rid of one another yet.
Yeah, and if you steal one of your one of those three amulets, I bet there's going to be hell to pay for the person who stole it, because now it's just a one down, and that person gets an idol out of nowhere.
True.
And the
True.
person who lost their amulets is happy that the person who stole it is out.
Yeah, I think the thing is, I guess because Drea has so many advantages, where she's pretty much safe for quite some time. Like she can like pretty much, even if like someone wants to like blindside her, or like she becomes the biggest target down the road, she has different things to like pull from. Or like I would say like next vote is very crucial because like she definitely should use one of them in this next tribal council, even if she has immune, even if she's the one in her group that wins immunity, because like this is where the smaller the tribe, the more power these things have.
Exactly.
Especially an extra vote.
Yeah, we're about to go down to 8 after next week. So yeah, it's definitely this is the kind of the point where you want to make sure that the people in the game are people who want to keep you, and anyone who might be willing to throw you to the wolves. This is the time to take them down.
Yeah. With that analogy, like the analogy that was pretty active in Survivor Council is like, you know, getting into the right car. And are you driving? What's the position in your car and everything? And like what Hai was saying was like, oh, you know, even if you're the driver, learn to know when the other person should drive. And if they are, you best be having your seatbelt on. I know there's a lot of like strategy going forward. And I feel like what I love about the next episode, like that kind of thing where it's like split up, it really shakes up the game and it's like intense. Yeah.
Which is really needed because right now, what's interesting about these first few merge kind of votes here is that it's been like this big group has gotten together and they're like, okay, it's this person, and they're settled on it to like the last like few minutes before tribal, and then it's just like, wait a second, should we do this instead? And it's like they're fine all the way up until literally right before, and then they're like, okay, do we need to flip it? Do we need to keep it the same? It is pretty chaotic so far. So definitely a chaotic game. I guess that would be the takeaway from this week, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel because this 7 is going to turn on each other. Like because even if they're split up down the middle, which is mathematically not possible, you get at least 3 on one tribe and then 4 on the other, because that's just simple math. And let's say the 4, and that's if it's even. They could be possible that everyone in that alliance, or there could be one tribe where there's everyone in that alliance is on a tribe of 5, and then there's just 2 on the other. Who knows? I don't think that scenario is as likely to happen because Romeo said, oh, this is just my luck, or like he mentioned like, oh, this is bad luck or whatever. So some part of me thinks that's not going to be really the case. It could be a 4-3 split, and Romeo is the 1 and the 4 on that tribe of 5, and he doesn't get immune. I mean, we'll just have to see. But
exactly.
those are the only like 2 possibilities of like how the tribes are, divvied up when it comes to the major alliance.
Yeah, I definitely think so my kind of theory is I figured that this week either Chanel or Tori was going home because of the majority, but I really figured that once that the reason that those were the big talking points was the Ika tribe didn't like Tori, the Vati tribe didn't like Chanel, and now that one of those tribes has been satiated in terms of who they got rid of, I think now Mike and Hai might be in a position where they're like, well, we got who we wanted out of this game. We don't need to really work with one of these sides now. Now I can kind of choose, create now a 6 to move forward into the game instead of this giant massive alliance.
Very fair. And then I forget who exactly brought up the next time. There's more guys than girls going on. Why don't we have a guys alliance? Could be a thing.
We've never seen a guys alliance, at least like a huge grouping of guys. We've seen like pairs or like small little like groups, but nothing like massive as like in a one world scenario, for instance.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess it's usually not mentioned as a guys alliance when it is, except for like obviously the bro chachas, because that's just like a bros in the name.
And the 3 amigos, that was another few guys. There's been those like small like 3 to maybe 4. I guess there's the Fat 5, but they got eaten up too. So like like there are these alliances out there, but like in terms of dominating, like trying to actually run the table on a season, it doesn't really happen. We usually have at least 1 or 2 girls make like a finale.
There's I'm trying to think if there has been like a all male final 3. Right now things aren't coming to me, but I also want to see how many of each gender is in the game. So we got Jonathan, we got Omer, we have Mike, we have Hai, we have Roxroy, we have who was else? Romeo. And then for the girls, we have, I was about to say Chanel. We have Tori, we have Marianne, we have Lindsay, and we have
Rhea.
So it's like a 6-4, and so like guys could. Great.
I mean, when I look at this, I think there's like 2 girls that have a chance of winning personally. That's Drea and Marianne. I think those are the most likely in terms of the females at this point to win the season. So like I think Drea is going to play really hard, but probably go out around 5 or 6. Just being such an aggressive player, probably will be someone that they call back for a future season or whatever. But I'm not sure if I see a win necessarily.
I feel the thing is, like, she has so many different advantages where I think it's possible, but at the same time, I think it's closer to 5 or 4, because if she was going to go, because like those advantages eventually expire. But like, she's also in a majority alliance. And then like there's this irregular vote where things are kind of like mixed up. And then there's the do or die, which who knows how that's going to play out this season.
Exactly. But I think Drea's personality, while I think entertaining on television, I think it might be rubbing some people the wrong way. I could definitely not. I don't see Marianne voting Drea personally. I think their personalities are just so different that I think they
Yeah.
would, for instance, never. I don't see either or. Like I don't see Drea voting for Marianne. I don't see Marianne voting for Drea. I just think they'll probably find someone else on that final three to mesh with better. And Romeo, I think it's not a good look for her, one of her closest allies, to feel like you just got thrown off the bus. So definitely starting to create some traces of, I think, people who are not as happy with Drea,
Yeah.
compared to like, for instance, a Mike or an Omer, where everything we're getting from them is the super positive content. Everyone likes them. They're playing a very good social and strategic game. Like they have pretty much every aspect. Whereas I think Drea's got the strategic content, but she's lacking a little bit
Jury
socially.
management.
Yeah, jury
I don't think
management.
socially. I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah, well, so yeah, I guess this is the classic like debate of Russell's social game, I think. Whereas he played a really good game socially, actually, in terms of getting people to flip and when he needed to talk to people
Yeah.
and when he needed to do all that. But socially also has to infer like, do people like you? Or what are you talking to them about? Like that is the other kind of stuff, and I don't think she's put that into her game plan as much as like what you would consider a great social player.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a fair point. I don't know. I also feel Marianne, she definitely has like a to kind of like talk about her as one of the potential female winners.
Mm-hmm.
She has like from day one, she had this underdog story, and she got a lot of like emotional moments within this. And
Mm-hmm.
even as she says, I'm an emotional person. I use it like a weapon.
Yeah.
But like she was saying like oh, feeling like outside of the numbers just reminds her of like, oh, there's something wrong with me, stuff like, and that stuff where it's like, especially if you've been an outsider, that you feel that.
Mm-hmm.
It's something where it's like you root for her because like she is an unlikely, like when I first saw her, I thought she was going to be like she looked not necessarily out of place, but she definitely wasn't the typical survivor player
Yeah.
because she like has a lot of like a youthful look to her and everything, and like a youthful aura.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that's something where you wouldn't have, you would think like, oh yeah, that could be help or hinder her in there. And like we were even worried like, oh yeah, because we saw her with Omer and like the stuff prior to that, it's like, all right, she's aligned with him, so she's doing something right. And this was before we even like started the season.
Mm-hmm.
But like, sometimes young people be targeted early. Like Swati and Zach were both like youngins. They got targeted pretty early in this game.
Yeah, you can definitely say Marianne's lucky that she got Jonathan on her team. I would say both her and Omer, I think, really benefited from having someone who, probably the best team-based challenge performer Survivor has ever seen. And I say team-based because he hasn't won an individual immunity yet. There's probably, like, I guess you would consider Joe England still a better challenge beast to him because of his wins or everything. But
Yeah.
in terms of this team-based, like those performances that he brings to those, he's definitely the best.
I know it's like we've talked about this with Danny last season,
Mm-hmm.
but is it possible? Oh, thank you for doing the thing, because then I just realized that fun fact. If someone adjusts their hair after looking with you, your hair might be wrong.
Yeah, I wasn't. I was adjusting my hair.
I did this, and then you copied, and then I was like,
Yeah.
wait, did I mess up my hair? And I saw. Anyway, not hair tips unless you're on Survivor and someone changes their hair, and then you're like, wait, how's my hair? Anywho, I digress.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel that team. It oh yeah, with Danny last season, like theories going around, and you brought it up a few times that like, oh, he was playing down his strength when it came to individual challenges. And I wonder if Jonathan is kind of doing the same thing. I don't entirely think so, because
Yeah. Yeah, I was more certain. Like, I felt like it makes more sense with Danny. He was, obviously still like a big guy out there, but uh, it was a little more like I think it's better for someone like him who's a professional athlete with that as his background to not win the first like half of immunity challenge and then try to ramp it up near the end. Whereas Jonathan on this cast with less physical people, I think you try to win every challenge you possibly can because you have and I believe he even said like at the beginning, like he had that record in pull-ups and everything, so it kind of seemed like
yeah,
maybe they were going to try to hint to us having this big immunity run, which it can still happen. It's still possible. Next week I think is actually very possible because it's going to be half the people on the tribe fighting against him, so he's got better odds.
yeah.
So
Not doesn't have to face. There's less likely the chance he has to face big bad Tori.
yeah, watch Jonathan and Tori win immunity next week.
Uh-huh. It's funny. Like, part of me is wondering with Tori, is she like secretly like an immunity beast, and then like joins the ranks and maybe even surpass the female immunity beast
Yeah, if she
of
can get up to 5, tie it with the other guys.
and then she becomes the first female to get like 5 within the same season.
Yeah,
That would be something.
yeah.
Because she is number one on my list, even if I don't totally agree, like if that happens, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll accept that.
Yeah, you picked
Uh,
the challenge beast of the season. Oh, surprisingly not Jonathan, which would be pretty crazy. Um,
I mean, let's
I think she is in though a situation where she pretty much has to win immunity. It's like I think anytime she drops, it's like she's either number 1 or 2 in terms of the target. I think she's going to be looked at from a lot of people as a potential boot.
I definitely think. Well, it's been 2 tribal councils, and then next one, the numbers are going to be smaller.
Yeah.
I feel like it's when that 7 turns on each other or realize that they do have to turn on each other, because honestly, I think it is next episode, because like I said, it's either going to be a 4-3 split or it's going to be a 5-2 split on whatever tribe they're going to be on.
Yeah.
For that. And then after
yeah.
that, it's going to be after that episode, there's going to be 8 people left. And let's say for whatever reason that the 7, survives that, you're getting to the point where like that one person that's like, oh, not on the inside of it, you might want to get rid of your alliance before they get rid of you. And that one person on the outs could like, weasel their way into like, not being in the, bottom, or not to be an outsider anymore.
I think in order for Tori to make it further, and it's such a, I think it's so hard. Like it can happen, but I think the 7 has to flip on Drea. I think because the fact that we have been clued that now Drea wants Tori out of the game because of that incident with the red hand, I think that is going to matter. And I think Drea now knows Tori needs to get out of here because she's looking to potentially blow up my game. So if they do end up being seated on the same tribe, on the same team, with Tori not winning, it's I would assume that Drea is looking to get the numbers together to take out Tori there.
Yeah, it's because like she is that Tori will use that against her.
Yeah.
Like especially if she says it to someone like Hai or Lindsay, who have encountered Survivor Blood before.
Yep.
Something click in the head, because click in their head and be like, oh yeah, I remember Drea must have found something else. This is like time to get rid of her because she has all these advantages.
Yeah, they
Or
must have had so much extra blood from that day one reward challenge that
yeah,
they filled a little hole.
they were like, well, we still got all this. We might as well, it'll be funny.
Nice,
Um,
nice.
yeah. I'm trying to think of any other
Yeah.
important things from this episode.
Yeah, Roxroy had the did he have any confessionals this episode? I'm trying to think. Did he
No,
say? I don't think anything. He didn't do anything.
he didn't really do much,
Yeah.
except miss the baskets.
Yeah. He did not start off very well, and Jonathan had to hero
Go in
it.
and then,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Which I was a little surprised, I guess, like because obviously Jonathan is a better swimmer and can recover the balls
Mhm,
faster. I think that was like part of the strategy behind it.
mhm.
Um, it just didn't pan out. I feel like I think like I know where their team was going with like putting Jonathan in the water, because if you're a faster swimmer, you can get the ball faster, which is important.
Yeah. Yeah, but if you just sink all of them, you don't need swimmers.
Nope. Or
Exactly.
maybe like Jonathan was like, "Oh, let me just wait in the water for a little bit, give it,
Yeah, he just wanted a
give some."
little yeah, so some extra exercise there. I don't know.
Or
Um
like give suspense to the team, like, "Oh, this is
yeah.
too easy." Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I forgot before we actually got on, I just saw that another Survivor contestant has passed away. It was Survivor 22 Redemption Island contestant Ralph Kaiser
Oh man.
has passed away from a massive heart attack.
Well, that's pretty unfortunate.
Yeah,
Um,
so yeah, Ralph, known for getting the better end of Russell Hanson that season, being the mastermind to take him out. Uh, so yeah, hopefully he's wrestling some pigs up in heaven right now.
he may be. Yeah, it's always like sad. Well, anyone dying is always a
Mhm.
tragic thing, but yeah.
Yeah, and
It's
Survivor contestants are dropping like flies now. I feel the show's been around long enough that we're starting to see a lot of people who played a while ago starting to go.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess because like they keep adding to their repertoire every year, even if there's like an all-star season, there's usually
Mhm.
one where they have new contestants.
Yep,
Um, and like they're regular people as well.
exactly.
And like kind of like how there's been like some people are like, wow, there's like a lot more celebrity deaths than there used to be. Well, I'm like, well, obviously, because like there's a lot more celebrities in general.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. Um, I hope his family is doing okay,
Yeah,
really.
exactly. Yeah, and I believe it happened, or at least like the news broke like probably right before Survivor or something. I don't think they had anything for this episode about it, which they usually
They
do
usually
something. Yeah, so maybe they're gonna just do it then next week.
probably.
Mhm.
Um, because I kind of stayed off Facebook prior to like the episode launching,
Yeah,
so that could have been it.
exactly. Yeah. Um,
Um,
so yeah, after that somber note, do we want to get to MVPs and LVPs of the episode?
yeah, I feel MVP. I might have to give it to Omer,
Mhm.
mostly because of like that one thing of like now he knows everything, as well as like even though he didn't win the challenge,
Mhm.
sinking four in a row was pretty damn cool.
Mhm.
And then yeah, I feel like he didn't really make any bad moves except for like missing the basket like twice. But I think Omer wins it this week as well.
I think I'm going to give it to Mike this week. And that, a lot of that is that ultimately, you know, there could have been a flip over to Romeo, but Mike's like, no, guys, like, let's get rid of Chanel. And I think it's much better for Mike to get rid of Chanel, yeah, even over High, like, because Mike clearly and Chanel were never going to really be on the same page after that whole splint. So now that he kind of took off, you know, the only person who has, you know, voted for him, does clear him up now to be in this power position without having someone who is willing to try to throw a cog into that whole plan.
True.
Mhm.
Less wild cards in there, the better.
Yeah.
That's fair. As for LVP, it's
I,
tough to really
I know who I'm giving it to.
Chanel
No,
or
I'm giving it to Romeo.
I feel
Um,
like either one.
Yeah, yeah. I think Romeo, just because I think he was in a position where at least he would have, it would have been like, you know, at least another week or so. I think he would have probably been safe. But I think he has potentially moved himself closer to that guillotine of elimination, especially with now a two, you know, person elimination next week. Like, I think there's a few different ways or combinations that could lead to him being one of the people that gets sent
Yeah.
home.
Like he even said he's not liking the twist or whatever. He feels like he is in danger next episode. Now, whether it's before or after the actual like challenge and stuff, maybe that's just how he feels in general. Um, it's still like, you know, we won't find out until it happens. But yeah, I feel like I don't want to count anyone out yet.
Mhm.
But at the same time, things have not been looking good for him these past two episodes.
Yeah, yeah. I thought before going into the merge, he had winner potential. I have
Same.
dropped that since the since the merge. Like it's like gone down where I was like, oh, maybe, and now it's kind of like I don't think it's happening at this point.
No. I mean, like I said, you never know, but at the
Mhm.
same time, if things are going the way they're going, but like that's the thing about Survivor, you never know what things might shift.
Mhm.
We still have plenty of other contestants, and like you know they gotta attack a big person soon because I'd say Tori is big in the sense of like she won two challenges in a row, and
Mhm.
like okay, yeah, and then also she exploits any secret she has and all that. She's like a threat, but she's not
Mhm.
like a major threat because you know it's a threat to win is more dangerous than a threat to your immediate game, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. Long term versus short term
Yeah,
strategies.
that's a better that's yeah, that's a better way of putting it.
Mhm. Exactly. So yeah, Romeo in a bit of trouble, but you know, every vote can potentially change the game. So,
Exactly.
one good power move could switch it all back over to him.
Yeah, we will see.
Okay. I think that's it. Is there anything else you want to talk about for this episode?
Nah, yeah, this one had some good moments. Chanel wasn't the greatest elimination. It was
Yeah.
pretty safe, but we'll see. Next week is always a fun one. Yeah, I like the format where it goes into two tribes in one. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just hope that we're not losing like Mike Omerjon next week because they're great TV and characters in my opinion. So
Yeah, I mean, who's to say? I'm sure like episode leaks will, or not leaks, or promotional stuff will show what teams are what, and then that's
mhm.
going to get people theorizing. I
Yeah,
try not to look at that, like, but you know,
yeah. I saw that who was probably going to exile when that was happening, and I was like,
Oh yeah, I
okay,
remember you
well,
messaging me, and I was
yeah,
like, all right,
yeah,
good to
don't,
know.
don't
I
look
try,
that up.
I try not to. The thing is, like, I have two different like YouTube accounts. I have one that's like for the apartment for like what everyone uses, and
Mhm,
then I have my own personal YouTube account.
mhm,
So usually the Survivor stuff I see is on my own personal account. And
mhm,
I only really use that if I'm like, like chilling at home and someone's using the big TV.
mhm.
So other than that, like I don't necessarily have to worry too much about Survivor spoilers or promos.
Yeah.
Because I'm very mindful. Like on Wednesday, I do this all the time. I'm like, don't spoil yourself. I write that on a like post. I don't post it, but as
Mhm.
soon as I open up Facebook, it says that. I'm like, okay, I saved myself from being spoiled.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I prefer it when they like the promos are just like they actually show you like a minute of like the episode, like a scene. Like I prefer those kind of stuff. Like I'll usually watch like a minute or two of a video if it's pretty much the episode because I'm like, okay, I'll see what's going on in this episode, see what it's about. But yeah, I hate it when they literally tell you like what's supposed to be like a big exciting moment, but you already know before you start the episode.
yeah, I mean, they got to show you something that gets you hooked, but at the same
Yeah,
time, those things that get you. That's why making trailers and stuff is a craft and very, very that's why Marvel like goes so hard with like they'll add stuff that's not in there or like totally replace people or erase people
yeah. Well, you
to
don't need
it.
to show like a challenge happening. Like just show like have some cinematic shots of like the challenge location or like the obstacle. Like that's a better way than to actually show them doing it to that essentially tells you
True.
who's
Yeah, they
where.
could just they can show the demo stuff they do when Jeff is explaining the challenge anyway.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah. So there's ways around it. I think they're just not aware of it at the very least. So
that could be it.
yeah. Okay, well that's gonna wrap us up here for episode 7 of Survivor. Still not listening to Survivor thinking it's episode 8. Not a true fact. It is episode 7.
Uh, it just messes up our whole thing. But
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what we're gonna release this as episode 8, and then no one's gonna know what
eight
episode 7 is.
slash seven. I mean, if you're subscribed, you're
Yep.
going to watch it all anyway. So wink,
Exactly.
wink.
Yeah. It
Um,
doesn't matter. So okay.
exactly. All right. Well, you guys have an awesome weekend, and we will see you next time.
Yep. Adios.
Peace.